Hi guys. I'm going to try something different. This is kind of a weird thing. I have it hooked to my phone and it's hooked to the table, so I'm sorry if there's some shake to it. Before we start this lesson, you're going to want to print out the instructions for Unit B.7 linear regression using a TI-83 graphing calculator. It says instruction on top. I'm going to slide it under here. It looks like this. Okay, these are the instructions I'm going to use as I go through this lesson. Okay, so if you're more of a written person, you might want to have them written down. And then the information that I'm going to use, the data I'm going to use, is from the Unit 2B homework section 7. I'm going to use the data I put on that homework. So you might want to pause the video and get those out because that's where we're going to start. Now, the first thing I always tell students when they pick up a new graphing calculator, now if it's your graphing calculator, you don't have to do this. But if you're using one that someone else has used or you've used prior, the first thing I always try to do is clear the memory. Now, keep in mind, if you've programmed something into your calculator, you do not want to do this. But I like to clear the memory because it gets rid of anything in all the menus that you may have been using and you have forgotten about, okay? So the first thing I do is, and yes, I have this to clear the memory of the calculator, is second. Now, if you're not sure where your second button is right up here. I'm pointing at it. Your second button. And second plus 712. That'll quickly clear your memory. So second plus 712. And you should get this information. This just clears anything that was in there that we were using, graphing lines, if we were plotting anything, if we were just screwing around writing words. That'll get it out of there so it's not in the way. Okay, so now here's what we're going to do. We are going to look at the homework, and I'm going to do number 1, and I want to enter those two tables. Now be careful and notice that the tables I have going on here are horizontal. They're no different from a vertical. You enter your X and your Y, and you make sure that the partners are next to each other, just like in any table. So in order to do that in your calculator, you're going to find the Stat button. I'm pointing to it right here. It's the third column, third row, under Delete. And if you hit Stat, you'll see at the top a bunch of different menu choices. For right now, we're going to stick to the Edit menu, number 1, Edit. And in order to choose that, you can either hit 1 or you can hit your Enter key. I'm going to hit my Enter key. And you'll notice we have some blank lists here. Okay, my first L1, that's going to be my X values. L2 is going to be my Y values. Now this is where you got to be really careful because the way the calculator works, it lets you, if you keep hitting enter, it lets you enter all the X values first and then you can go over, or you can use your arrow button and put the entries in. So what I'm doing is from number 1 on the homework, I'm going to put in my X and Y values, so 0.01, and you'll see what happens if I hit enter. It lets me go down. If I want to put in my Y value in L2, I have to use the arrow button, okay? So in the arrow, and then you have to hit enter in order for it to be in there. So it's kind of up to you. So right now you might want to pause the video. I'm going to enter my X's, and then I'm going to enter my Y's, and I'm going to double check, okay? If you're not sure how I got here, stop the video, rewind it and see what I said, or you can look at that instructional page and that'll tell you exactly what I'm doing right now. So you might want to pause or you might want to just let it run, but I'm going to try to enter everything exactly as I see in number 1. And then I'm going to double check. 1, 2, 3. Like right now I'm checking there's 3.4s and I'm making sure I have them. A 0.5. 2.6s, 0.7, and a 0.9. And then I'm going to come over, and when I do this, I want to make sure that whatever was supposed to be, oh, I already made a mistake. This was just supposed to be 0.1. If I want to overwrite, I just highlight up to where I need to. I put 0.1 and enter, and it fixes it for me, okay? So 0.1 goes with 5, 0.2 goes with 12, 0.4 goes with 13. 0.4 goes with 14. Notice this is not a function because 0.4 has a bunch of different outcomes, right? If we were talking about this as a scatter plot, it has 0.4 has more than one outcome. 0.4 is 16. 0.5 is 19. 0.6 is 16. 0.6 is also 17. Fails there too. 0.7 is 22. And 0.9 is 30. Now, I'm not telling you what any of this stuff is. I'm not telling you what this data is about because really this is just a matter of practicing using your graphing calculator to find a line of best fit. Okay? So once you have all the data in, you shouldn't have any extras. So you want to check. If you have an extra number in the L2, you're going to get an error message when you try to do anything. If you have an extra number in L1, you'll get an error message. So you want to make sure they match up and they match up correctly. So you got to be very careful, and this is a little tedious, I would agree. It is a lot easier, though, than finding a line of best fit in the normal way. Okay, now let's say we want to see what this looks like. Okay, again, I'm on the first page of that instruction, and it tells you to go second y equals. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Oh yeah, that's what I want to do. Sorry. Second y equals, and what that does is turn on it looks at the stat plot menu. Okay, so second y equals, stat plot stands for statistics. You should get this. Anytime you're not getting what I told you to get, let's say you got this instead, and you're like, whoa, how'd I get that? I don't know. Go back and do what I just told you to do. Second y equals. It'll take you back there. Let's say if you get stuck and you don't know where you want to go. You want to go home. There's that quit right above mode. If you hit second mode, that'll always take you home. Second y equals gives me what we're working on right now. That's my stat plot. Statistical plots is what we're looking for. We're going to choose number 1, plot 1. And as you can see right here, it's off currently. We need to turn it on, and we need to tell the calculator what type of graph we want. So I'm going to hit enter, or you could hit 1. And you'll see this is where people get confused. It's still not on. Just because it's blinking on it doesn't mean it's on. It's still off. In order to turn it on, you have to hit the enter key, and you'll notice it moved over to the on. Okay? Now here you can see all types of different graphs. We have a scatter plot, a line graph, we have a histogram, and we have box and whiskers, my favorite. I can't see what that one is. Okay, and then we choose the list. In this case, we're going to stick to scatter plot, and as you can tell, if you watch, you can see don't do this. But if I go down and I wanted to change, again, I'd have to hit enter to change it. And you notice the choices down here change to according. I want scatter plot, so you don't have to do anything there. So make sure your scatter plot is highlighted. If you cleared your memory like I told you to, your X list will be L1 and your Y list will be L2, and that's where we entered the data. Now this is different depending on your calculator. If you have an older model calculator, you might not have these choices here, okay? And that's okay. And you can mess around with these to see what's easier for you to see, okay? So we've gotten that. Now if I just hit graph, watch what happens. Don't do this, but if I hit graph, I see 1 point there, but I'm not really seeing a scatter plot. And that's because we're looking in the wrong window. We're looking from x equals -10 all the way up to x equals 10, and then positive 10 to -10 in the y direction. Well, that's not the numbers we just put in. We need a different one. Well, there's a couple things you can do. You can change the window manually, or you can do a quick zoom. So if you see in the middle top row the word zoom, you can zoom out. My favorite is Zoom Box. That's fun to play with. If you've never played with Zoom Box, that's fun. But we need Zoom Stat because we're looking at statistical data, and it's going to zoom so it shows the statistical data. So you can scroll down to 9 and hit enter, or you can just hit 9 on your number keys. There we go. Now it's showing the window in order to see. So you should stop and ask yourself, what's going on here? Well, this looks like a strong, linear, positive graph. Okay, we're looking at the direction is positive. I don't say it as well as Mr. McGrath. The direction is positive. The form is linear and the strength is pretty strong. It looks pretty strong. It's not that hard to guess that this is linear. As x is going up, so is y. I'm sorry, that it's positive, because x is going up, you can tell y. There's not a lot of outliers and stuff like that. Now again, we want to be able to, I showed you in last lesson how to draw a line without using a calculator. And remember, it was an eyeball. It wasn't exactly right because we don't have the mathematical ability yet to use the linear regression formula that you can learn in statistics, which again, I'm going to put a plug for statistics. If you're planning to go to college, you're going to need to learn statistics. So you might as well take it here with Mr. McGrath or whoever's teaching it. It is a good way to get some good math into you, and you'll need it no matter what subject you decide to major in. Even if you just want to be a good human being and understand what's out there and what the press is trying to tell you. Take statistics. Okay, that's my little plug. So now I need to figure out a line that works there. The calculator will figure out the exact line that represents this data. So it is using the formula that we use in statistics. It's just going to do it for you. So you're going to go to Stat. Now this time in that choice, you're going to go to the Calc menu. In order to get to the Calc menu, you're going to arrow to the right. And there's lots and lots of choices here. Well, let's think about what we want. We want a line of a graph. Well, which of these things looks like a linear graph to you? I'm hoping the word lin-reg kind of catches your eye, linear regression. And then this kind of looks like y equals mx plus b. They're just using different letters. And so this is the one we want. We want number 4. Number 8 is also linear regression in just a different order. So we're going to stick to 4 because that's going to be the easiest one to read. So you hit 4 or scroll down and hit enter, and then you get something like this. Now this depends. It depends on your type of calculator. Some of yours won't need to calculate. Some of yours you just need to hit enter. If you're having trouble, let me know and I'll show you. This is where it's a little bit different for each one. So we're going to scroll down. If you have this type, if you have anything that says calculate, you want to highlight it and then hit enter. Okay, and what that's going to do, it's calculating it for you. It's telling you the graph of this line is y equals ax plus b. A is 26.37096774, and b is 3.7419354884. Now, if you don't know the equation of a line, y equals mx plus b, this doesn't mean much to you. Again, a calculator is a tool. It is not a brain. It is not going to give you exactly what you need. You need to look and think about this. Well, what is A next to? A is next to the X. What's usually attached to the X is the slope. So which of these numbers here is the slope? The slope of this line is 26.37096774. Now what you need to always check for is I need to write down and I need to round to whatever it's telling me to. And if you're not sure, so in our homework I said round to the nearest tenth. So our slope is 26.4. And our y-intercept is still b. And in this case, it's 3.7419354884, rounding to the 10th, 3.7. So on the blank, on number 1 in your homework, I wrote y equals, instead of a, I wrote 26.4, because the calculator figured out that's what a is. That's my slope, and then I put my x plus 3.7. You need to write that down. And that's why there's a line there that says equation of the line of best fit. I don't want you to write a equals. I don't want you to tell me b equals, and don't give me that whole number. It says round to the nearest tenth, so round to the nearest tenth. And then you can actually see it on your calculator. This is kind of nice. So I go to my y equals, again on the instructions, I'm giving this also written form, and I'm going to type in that equation that I just wrote down. 26.7. If you're not sure where your x is, some kids like to call this the x ton button because it looks like it says x ton. It's actually x t theta, and theta we'll use a lot when we're doing trig. Okay, depending on what mode you're in, depends on what you choose. So the mode that we're in, when I hit that button, it's going to give me the x, okay, plus 3.7. Now when I hit graph, I should see my line of best fit go directly through the middle of those points, and it's the best representation of the scatter plot. So hit your graph button, and there it goes, and it's going perfectly through the middle according to a statistical linear regression equation formula. The calculator did it for you, but you need to know how to use it. Okay, that's where I'm going to stop. If you have questions or you get stuck, take a picture of where you're stuck so I can see on your screen what the problem is. Mr. McGrath and I and Mr. Wells are pretty good with the TI-83s, and if we can see your screen, we can tell where your mistake is. If you just say, I can't get it, I don't know what's wrong, I can't help you, and neither can they. So what we need you to do is, if you end up with a screen and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, I'm getting the wrong line, then I want you to take a picture of it, okay? It would even also be helpful to go back to your stat and take a picture of your table so we can check your table, because every once in a while the table is entered incorrectly and you'll get the wrong answer, okay? So try these. Check your answers with my homework check to see if you're getting them right. There's not a lot of work to show, so I know some of you are going to be excited about that. I won't name names, but some of you don't like to show work. Well, when we're using the graphing calculator for this, there is no work to show, but you need to have the answers all written, and then I want you to check your answers and make sure you're rounding correctly.